Hello everyone and welcome to the BGG Show for September. This is the second one in a row. I've got Candice Harris, Eric Martin, and Stephen Bonacore with me once again, and we are going to talk about a bunch of stuff. First up, we have announced that the BGG Spring 2024 tickets have gone on sale. We are already excited about going because that's one of our favorite ones since it's pretty mild. Lots of stuff happening, lots of games, but a lot less stuff for us to do. So I'm excited about that. So if you're interested in going to that, tickets and hotels are available. That's May 23rd to 27th, had to look that up, which is Memorial Day weekend, and hope to see you guys there. Anybody else is going to be going? I'm sure Candice will be going.
Yep, I'm going.
And that'd be fun.
Looking forward to
Eric,
it.
are you going to go? Eric's going to go. Are you going to bring your son? Is he interested?
No.
Not yet? No? Okay.
Never. He's done.
I may not be able to
It's
make
not
it.
Sure. I mean, come on.
I
There's so many
really
conventions
want to come back. There is so
that
many
weekend.
cons, but
Yeah.
but BGG Spring is absolutely one of the best ones out there. With BGG Fall, of course, fantastic conventions for people to attend.
Yep.
I was just gonna say, I just love that it's right at the airport, so you can
Oh my gosh.
literally like get your bag and walk across the street to the hotel. It's so convenient.
Well, this last time we had a media meeting, and we were super excited because Velvet Taco has a restaurant just outside of the airport property. And so we all got to go there, which we love. And it's usually a little bit more of an effort to go to, so that was awesome. And then it's true. It's really easy to get from the airport to the hotel since the hotel's in the airport. We also have, Candice is going to cover a little bit of stuff about some historical gaming stuff that's going on. Go ahead and tell us about that, Candice.
Yeah, so I'm excited because October 1st, the Zenobia Award is launching the second game design contest. And the Zenobia Award is basically a competition and kind of like a mentorship program for game designers from underrepresented groups. And you can submit a game design idea. But the whole premise is they're looking for games that are also on like lesser covered historical topics. So, they're just trying to we have so many World War II games out there, so many World War I games, but there's so much like interesting history that a lot of people don't even know about. So it's cool to have this award to kind of bring some new designers into the fold and have them share these ideas about like new topics. I mean, last year, I guess it was 2021 was the first Zenobia Award. There are several of those finalists ended up getting published deals. There's one called Cartini From Darkness to Light by Sharia Ayandini, and that got picked up by Ion Game Design. And it's a game where you're managing schools for girls in different islands of Indonesia. And I know that was a Kickstarter. And then just this morning, the day that we're recording this, Whirligig Games, which is Cole Worley's publishing company with his brother Drew, they announced that they are crowdfunding a game called Molly House, which is pretty much a game where you take on the roles of, everybody takes on the role of gender-defying Mollies in early 18th century London. And that's designed by Joe Kelly and co-designed by Cole. So that one's coming out. There are like all these really interesting historical topics being kind of brought to the forefront in board games. And so I'm excited to see now that they're doing the Zenobia Award 2, like what kind of games are going to come out of this contest. And also, it was the first time that it was run. Like I was one of the judges in the first Zenobia Award. So it's going to be cool to see what feedback came out of that from either the designers who submitted games or from the people who kind of worked as mentors, judges, and everything to kind of improve that award system. So yeah, submissions for that start October 1st. I think it's through the 15th. They're taking applications. And then if you get accepted beyond that, then you submit a proposal for your idea, yada, yada, yada. And it'll take us through next year. And then there are two other things I'm excited about in the historical board gaming space. After, I know we're going to talk about Essen anticipation, but one of the things I'm also looking forward to is just after Essen, a couple of days after I get back, I'm heading to Hanford, California for GMT's Weekend at the Warehouse. And
Nice.
this is like GMT opens their warehouse for a convention. It's super chill, low key, very like friendly, welcoming environment. And it's one of those conventions where you will bring their own games, but they also like open the warehouse so you can buy games, which always gets me into trouble. But it's like one of the things I love about it is I have so many games that I'm excited to play. And some of these historical games and war games are hard to get to the table. So usually I like to bring whichever ones I'm most excited about that I haven't played yet. And I will find someone there to be like, hey, can you teach this to me? Because that's the audience for that. But beyond that, there are like lots of
Mark Johnson goes to that one a lot. Yeah,
exactly.
It's up near where he grew up too, so it's a little bit easier.
It's like near Fresno.
Yeah, I mean,
I've never heard of Hanford, but beyond GMT games. But the other cool thing is like lots of designers go and they'll bring prototypes of new games that you can check out. And Gene always gives like a big talk about like what's going on with the company. So it's a convention that this will be my third time going. And I don't know, I really enjoy it. And the last one I'll bring up, I'll sneak is in November, the first weekend in November, San Diego History Con is happening. I have participated in the online San Diego History Con where I've kind of done demos where last one, I think I played against Jason Matthews in Twilight Struggle Red Sea. And I've never had the opportunity to attend one in person because last year it conflicted with BGG Con. So this year it's a different weekend. So I'm going to head to San Diego, check that out. Again, it's more like lots of historical game designers show up. They bring prototypes and new games to check out. And I love San Diego. So that's,
I was going to say, was the last time it was too far away from you? I'm teasing.
No,
San Diego's not that bad.
I was in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
4 cons in 2 months.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Who doesn't? Come on, Eric. Get with it. Everybody's got 4 cons.
Well, speaking of cons, we're all excited about Essen. We're all going, right?
Yes.
There's this list on BGG. It's the 2023 Spiel preview list.
Who puts that together?
1,050 something games. It's massive, and it takes a long. I actually load the whole thing, and it took a little while. Usually it's not so bad, but maybe everybody's looking. Maybe all of us were looking this morning. I don't know. But I was reviewing it again because I actually wanted to see if there was anything new that popped up. So we do have that. Unfortunately, I really didn't get the entire list covered, but you can see what you can see what is updated since you were last on, which is fantastic. But let's start with Steven. Steven, what are you excited about?
Well, even before I mentioned the games, which of course always excited about seeing the new games. Some of the things that I love about Essen are a chance to get to meet the fans again. You know, now that I'm not part of the industry, just getting back there and literally just hanging out. Well,
you are. You're just no longer making games.
I'm no longer working. I no longer do all this for money, I guess, right? Whatever. But
he's the anomaly in the equation here. It doesn't do anything. Except go to cons. So now 4 cons in 2 months makes total sense to him.
Yes, it does, because now I game and see people and have a good time. So see my friends that I've made in the industry, see fans of the podcast, Board Games Insider. Hopefully some of you guys watch that. But then on the game side, the things that I picked out from the list that Eric puts together, thank you, Eric and Lincoln, for doing that. War of the Ring, the card game, Against the Shadow expansion by Ares Games. War of the Ring, everybody knows, is my single favorite game. The card game version does not disappoint. And now Against the Shadow is a solo/cooperative expansion, very much. Wow. And I was able to actually get a pre-production copy of that from Ares Games while I was at the UKGE, and they did a little preview on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. So you can check that out if you'd like. Other games, Station Fall, which I know is not new, but it's new, certainly new to me. It's 1 to 9 players. It's pretty new, right? But it's not new. 1 to 9 players, asymmetrical, space-themed, hidden objective. This game is like, we made this game for Stephen Bonacore. That's how so cool all of those things are, for me. So I like
fun.
games. Yeah, I like games where you can play with so many players. Almost, it's almost like a party game, but it's not a party game. And you've got hidden objectives when you're going around. So that's a big one for me. I'll quickly mention Cascadia Landmark's been looking for this expansion. Can't wait to see it. Cascadia was my number one game of 2021. So seeing an expansion and seeing what they do there is going to be great. So I'm not sure how many you want me to do, but we'll leave it at that, and let's see what everybody else has.
Okay. Candice, go ahead.
Okay, well, I didn't want to because I'm going to be doing a BGG podcast episode with Aldi for the 1-year anniversary of the BGG podcast, and we're going to be talking about Spiel a little bit. So I didn't want to. I'm not going to spoil everything. But one game that I'm super excited for is Evacuation, which is the new Vladimir Suhi game from Delicious Games. Basically, the premise is the sun is burning us, and we're trying to move to a new planet. And I guess you kind of start the game with a fully functioning economy. But you have to kind of like break down the economy and migrate it over to the new planet. But the new planet uses different types of resources. So I think like there's a whole like you're killing like your income engine in one planet, but then you're trying to like figure it out on the other side. Right. It sounds cool. It looks cool. And I know like Vladimir Suhi has like co-designed a couple releases in the past 2 years that I wasn't like super hype on, but like this is just him. And I think it looks fantastic. So I'm excited about that. Another one I probably mentioned at some point, but at Gen Con, this was something I took a peek at, and that is Kutna-Hora, the City of Silver.
Yeah, that's on my list too.
Yeah, it looks like, it sounds so cool. There's this whole supply and demand thing. I love the look of the game too, because there's like part of the board is just kind of black and white and gray. And, you have these contrasting colors, and then they use these like rewood components.
Yeah, I think we talked about the last time. Yeah, I think those are amazing.
Maybe we talked about last time.
I could not keep my eyes off those bits the whole time.
Yeah,
so
that's
more
right.
than anything, I just want to get the game to play with them. Yeah, they were amazing.
And then the last one I'll bring up is Siberian, which is the new Shadi Torby game in the solo, is it Impatience, Eric?
I think that's the publishing
company.
Yeah.
But this is like some hand management game where you're playing with robots. I probably haven't even played all the games in this series, but I love getting them. They always have like amazing production. I love solo games. So that is and it's a small box too, so it can fit in my suitcase.
That's always a good
thing. Those are just a couple of games, but my list on the preview of things I'm interested in is very long.
Cool. I know Eric is often interested in the games that I'm always intrigued by them, but I don't have experience with many of them, but he's into a lot of the smaller games. What have you seen so far that you're interested in checking out or getting?
That's true. So before I get to that, I'll mention that we have a designer diary from Kutna-Hora's co-designer Andre Bistrom, which is being published on September 24th. Shadi Torby is submitting a designer diary for Siberian.
Nice.
Haven't got a date yet because he has not submitted it, but there's a lot of designer diaries coming in. I'll probably publish one a day until Spiel starts because everyone's doing it kind of last minute.
Yeah.
Planning ahead. You know how that works. As for games, I just looked and I have only tagged 6 games so far. Well,
boom.
An explanation is more like, Stephen mentioned that Station Fall is not new, but it is new within the past year. And for
absolutely.
smaller publishers, I tend to do everything from the previous Spiel. Because
it's fair too.
Everyone's coming from around the world, and who's going to see what Ion is releasing, except possibly at Spiel, unless you see them on a crowdfunding platform. And so lots of those smaller companies, I want to do everything because
it's always good to give them coverage, right?
Yeah, because everyone's going to see like Kosmos is doing stuff twice a year, and Ravensburger twice a year, and Amigo and so forth. So only cover the new stuff in the latter half, but other publishers do everything. And there's even some where the games were supposed to be out at Spiel 22, and then Customs held up their games the entire time.
Oof.
So they got another shot on the preview because now they'll be available for real.
That's good.
Give them a break there. As for things I picked out, I'm not even sure for the most part. I only have 6 because mostly I'm working on the preview and I put them in there and then I forget them. They're out of my
Right.
mind completely. And I'm not thinking about playing the games, but just getting them there. So the only one that's coming to mind right now is this abstract strategy game called Triad, where it's on a 6x6 board. Each player has 6 dice that has sides 1, 2, and 3. And on a turn, you pick a die, you turn it to a side that it isn't on. So if it's on a 1, you have to make it a 2 or 3, move it that many spaces, eventually trying to get 3 dice in a row, which must include at least one of the opponents. And when you do that, you remove one of your dice, like Yinch. One of your pieces is gone. You have to make 3 triads, you win the game. So super simple and straightforward, but Clemens Gerhards, the publisher, does incredibly nice woodworking. All of its boards are just fantastic.
You convinced me of that one where it's the 2 triangles flicking the discs to the other side. I had to have somebody get that for me last year and brought it home. I can't remember the name of it.
Which
Eric,
right now.
That's great.
That sounds cool. I actually just picked up, speaking of like wood abstract strategy games, I just picked up Quarto for the first time.
Oh yeah, really? The Zygamic?
Yeah, I haven't tried it
yet.
There's
so many games that they have created.
Quarto's great. I sold Quarto when I worked in a game store in 1991. Like that was the year it came out.
Oh, okay.
That's an old game.
An oldie?
It was, I think, the first Zygamic title.
Oh, really?
And cool. Yeah, as far as I recall. And it's fantastic because it is incredibly easy to demo. Like that game is perfect. You put it on the countertop and someone's checking out and you hand someone a piece and say, put this somewhere on the board and then pick a piece for me. And so you're immediately playing the game and you teach it while you do it. And of course you're going to win because they don't know what they're doing, but you can immediately play again.
That's
and
the
whole
kind of
point
game Eric
is,
wants to play.
Well, it's teaching by playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I prefer to just jump in immediately and you will see how it works. And that game as well, when you do it that way, it'll take 2 minutes at most. And then there you go. You're done. You've already learned how to play Quarto. It's just, I can see why it's been around for 30 years because it has that immediacy to it. It's got a lot of replayability in terms of what you're doing. So yeah, it's very cool.
Cool. Well, I have a bunch. There's too many things. I'll name a few of them just quickly. The Zauberberg card game is called Zaubersverg, right? Which is, I mean, it's just a reimplementation of Magic Mountain, but I'm really excited to see that because I actually love Magic Mountain. There's also the new Carcassonne expansion, which is really intriguing wonders of the humanity, and the Barcelona, which I did see at Gen Con, but didn't get a chance to even look at it really. I just saw it briefly. So I want to check that one out more carefully at Spiel. Kutnahora, as Candice mentioned. Terra Pyramides from Kramer and Kiesling, which is Mandu,
It's only
right?
not going to be available for purchase.
Didn't it say it was available in October?
It did, but the advantage of the BGG Spiel 23 preview is that I update it continuously until I get on a plane and head to Germany.
And then still update continuously.
Until at that point, Korea Board Games has said it's going to be available for demo, but not for purchase. And Hook initially said it would be available for purchase, and then I said, but Korea Board Game isn't doing it. And then she checked and said, oh yeah, we don't have it for sale either. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's too bad because that was one that was available for sale. I did not filter by things that are demo because I don't necessarily have the time to look at the games that are coming next year. Although we will be having meetings and seeing what's coming next year. But I'll let publishers give me that information. But sadly, I won't get to pick that one up because I love Kramer Kiesling. Last year's Wandering Towers, which is what it's called in the U.S., which just got recently released by Capstone. I told Clay about that game. I'm like, hey, Clay, there's a new Kramer and Kiesling family game. Are you doing it? And he's like, what? So I'm really happy to pick that one up. And then Dracula vs. Helsing by Maxime Romberg and Theo Riviere is also Mandu. That is, they're the ones that did The Loop, which I'm excited about. But the one that I I already know about, and it's not a surprise that I'm excited about it since it's a Friedemann design game, is the Freaky Frogs from Outer Space, which I did not know that was the name of the game. I have played it once. I watched Scott play it. It is a solo pinball game. So you're playing cards, trying to keep your balls active, and I am dying to see the final game because the art for the poster that we saw that was the playfield was amazing. And it really seemed fun, and it feels like a slow pinball game, but it was really, really good. Because you're like getting targets, trying to get things that will activate. So you score points, keep the ball active, flipping between flippers, and it is really, really exciting to play and fun to watch. I think Scott was a little bit overwhelmed because Henning was teaching us, and he tends to like. I played it twice. One time Henning did the same thing he did for Scott, and the second time I played it by myself. It's really, really cool, and I'm excited because Friedemann makes lots of great single-player games. So it should be fun, and it is fun. I played it, and I look forward to getting my own copy. So let's go to the Eric
also,
news.
You get what? Freaky Frogs. You get
Freaky Frogs Freaky Frogs from Outer Space. The other one was FTW. Is a new trick-taking game that he's doing, and I always have to look at Friedemann's trick-taking games. But let's get to Eric doing the BGG news that we've got going on here. Is there anything exciting?
So, game news. I have nothing to talk about in the way of game news because...
Oh, yeah, you've been away for a week.
I was away for 10 days doing this project, and not related to games.
You ever hear of this thing called the internet? There's all kinds of ways to get game news.
He was probably trying to be off of that for a little bit.
Yeah,
no.
It was it was 12-hour days doing this. There was no time for anything like that. So I did a whole bunch of writing of new stuff ahead of time, and then I did all that. Now I'm catching up. And so the game news is, I'm not even sure what to talk about. More, I have industry news, so I'm going to be stepping on Steven's toes. Because one of the big things...
Give it a shot, and we'll go back and forth.
Yeah.
So we can talk about HABA. That is, yes, that's the number one thing.
That was an absolute shocker.
So German publisher HABA, earlier in 2023, let go of roughly 1/3 of its workforce, which... kind of a surprise. And then it sold off a clothing line, which is a big part of its business. It's not something we normally talk about because we focus on games, but HABA also has a big business selling clothes and selling furniture. It's all children's things that all work together, all trying to, you could do your whole children's room in HABA if you want. So sold off a clothing line, and now they have filed for reorganization in Germany, which is essentially like filing for bankruptcy. And here's our plan for how we think we're going to come out of bankruptcy. Yeah. And I believe it's already been accepted.
It's the same thing as filing Chapter 11 in the U.S. It's a bankruptcy filing. It keeps away the creditors while you do the reorg of the company. And if you don't mind me just adding a little bit, so they are going to now focus only on their furniture, which you mentioned, Eric, and their toys, which leaves very specifically out of the equation the games, which are the ones that, of course, we follow and we love because HABA, arguably, maybe inarguably, has made the best children's games. Not many available here, some are, but the best children's games in the world. So it's really sad to see this happening.
Do you think that has actually gone? I mean, I'm still talking to people and they're still trying to get us to cover games. So after I spoke to two different people, and they said it's been a crazy few weeks. And I saw that email before I heard the news. I'm like, I wonder what happened. And then
they're one of the companies that I don't have a very good tie into. So if you do, and you want to hand it to me to do a quick interview, or Eric, just to say, hey, so what are the plans for your game lines now, past, current, and in the future? I certainly would put that on Board Games Insider or on BGG News.
I do. I think toys must mean games as well. I cannot imagine that they would. I cannot imagine they would drop seriously one of the most important things they do. I mean, I know they make barbecues, which is Henning told us about that. Is what they got for their wedding, a HABA barbecue. I said, is it for children? But I guess not. But yeah,
Dude,
they're talking about
we
new
don't
releases.
eat children in Germany. That's
No,
great.
not
They
a
eat
barbecue.
children?
It's for children to
They eat
barbecue
children.
things.
No, the children are cooking for us.
Yes, exactly. The thing that was shocking to me was 2,000 employees. That is insane. How many companies that are involved in our industry have that many employees besides maybe the biggest, you know? And I can't even imagine they have that many. It seems just massive.
Well, and now it's not.
Yeah.
That would be bigger than anybody who is a hobby game company. That's bigger than Asmodee's count. Asmodee alone, not Embracer Group, of course. So yes, but again, they're not a hobby game company. They're not a game company. They're this conglomerate of clothing, furniture,
Sure.
games, barbecues. You know, all this other stuff that they apparently have that I did not know about.
Yeah. It was very shocking though to read that, and you know, I hope they don't exit the game stuff, because they not only do they do the great children's games, they've done lots of great family games. One of my most favorite recent ones was Ikazu by Michael Feldkotter. Really fun game. We jokingly called it the Avatar game because, I mean, it does kind of look like the Navari. I don't even remember. I'm not really a big fan of Pandora, and Avatar, but it was fun. I do hope that they are able to recover and stay in the business, though, because it's, you know, financially things changed a lot during the pandemic, and actually it absolutely helped board game companies tremendously. And now there's other things to take people's attention, and so it's, you know, everybody knew it was coming, but not everybody was prepared for the drop in
100%.
revenue.
So I'll just mention HABA USA, as far as I know, is actually a separate company than HABA Germany. I think. I'm trying to remember. That happens a lot. Like Amigo Games US is
Blue Orange,
not Amigo Games Germany.
Right.
Not even owned by. The most famous one of those was Yellow USA, was not owned by Yellow France. And they literally did we are no longer dealing with those guys kind of thing. France said, so that's not, I don't think that's most companies, but it certainly is quite a few of the larger ones have that kind of structure.
Yeah, Temps and Kosmos is its own business.
Yeah.
From Kosmos. So,
well, it was
and
great
there's
when they
Kosmos
started.
UK.
They were doing the scientific stuff for a long time, and then they finally started doing the games, which is great. Because I want them in English, you know, as soon as possible. So
along those lines, Kosmos is moving towards faster release and more simultaneous release, at least with some games. So Rainer Knizia's My Island is supposed to hit about the same time in Germany and the US. And a new game by Michael Menzel. New game by Michael Menzel coming out called Dragon Keepers. That's going to debut as well in the US, roughly at the same time in Germany. So they're moving that way towards a simultaneous release with some games. Of course, it's difficult because, as far as I know, they're produced in Germany, and then they have to ship them across the Atlantic, and so Germany's just sitting on it.
Right. The thing is, I mean, obviously that's got to be better for the industry, right? You have the buzz about the game. You can't wait 9 months to a year for that to really succeed. The Adventures of Robin Hood, or whatever that one's called, was a long time coming for the English version. Now, that was a tremendous book to translate, and Kosmos UK had a lot of work on its plate for that. It's the same with the advent calendars. They always wait a year to do them because it's lots of, you know, translations that are relating to incidents and things like that you really have to like be able to come out with the best possible form. You don't want it to be just a hack job translation. So it is understandable that there are delays. But when it's like sort of language independent and all you need is a rule set, it would be wonderful if they can sync that up much more often.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the other item, maybe Stephen will have some insights into, but there's been a lot of hubbub about the Terraforming Mars Kickstarter campaign.
It is the one thing that we had to talk about for the industry. Go ahead, you start, and I have all kinds of stuff on that.
So, yes, Indie Game Studios, which owns Stronghold Games, has an ongoing crowdfunding campaign, I think still going as we're recording this.
Yes, it is.
expansions. What is it? 28, 29 for Terraforming Mars.
It's the Prelude to
Yeah.
Prelude 2 and then the Automa.
Automa,
Yeah.
and
Automa.
lots of maps and things like that. So yes,
Yes.
it's doing very well. And
So
right, everybody out there knows I used to own and was president of, and no longer am affiliated with Stronghold Games. Continue.
yes. Okay. So
Don't
Kickstarter has
don't add
changed
him.
its
Don't add
rules.
Steven.
Well,
Don't add.
Steven was there when Terraforming Mars debuted. And
sure.
Certainly was.
But I mean, don't
expansions,
add him about the AI stuff. It's not his fault.
That's right. Yeah.
No, but I have very strong opinions on
Sure,
the whole
sure.
thing. So let's go for this. I do not back away from controversy. Let's just say that
okay.
I'm a geek newsman here. Now we go
Okay.
for
I
it.
am pro cooking children on barbecue.
Yes.
Barbecues.
Yes.
Oh, no, don't
As
say
long
that.
as it's a HABA grill.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. So Kickstarter has changed its sort of
Term.
publicity terms so that you have to reveal if you're using AI elements. I don't know the details of exactly what you have to reveal. Obviously, AI is used in so many things, like small and large. I mean, of course, if you do things like you take an image and then you're cropping the background out of it, that's an automated process, which is essentially an AI tool.
Right.
Because it is an automated thing that is doing something that you could have done if you took the time to erase all the stuff around it manually, and it's just doing it much faster. So there's all sorts of AI tools. Kickstarter is you now have to reveal if you're using AI in certain ways. And for the new Terraforming Mars expansions, the development studio, Fricks Games, is using Midjourney for the creations of some images as well as graphic designs that are then being tweaked by members of the Frixelius family who do graphic design and art for the games, along with William Bricker, if I remember correctly. So Bricker, yeah. There's a bit of issue that has come up, mainly because my understanding of how Midjourney works is that it is a vacuum that has sucked up hundreds of thousands of images,
Millions,
public
billions.
domain and not. Yeah, probably millions. Who knows at this number, at this point. Uncountably many, we'll say that, has sucked up all these images. You can give a prompt to Midjourney and it will generate something based on whatever your prompt is and all the images that is absorbed, and then is synthesizing and turning into something new. And people have issues with it because, of course, a lot of artist material has been sucked up into Midjourney without their permission. They did not authorize that. They get no payment from Midjourney creating anything. There's no authorship anymore to what Midjourney is doing. I believe courts have ruled that you cannot copyright images that are created by AI. And there's all sorts of weirdness where they're not indie game studios and Fricks Games. They're not eliminating the artist in a way, because they're still tweaking images and working them over and taking a base graphic design and modifying from there and so forth. But the generation, the starting point, is often a Midjourney creation that is based on material that they did not have the rights for.
And adding to the images and putting more on the images. And you gave a very good summary of how this all works. And let me add something very, very important. And let's assume, Candice, you are an artist, or you are wanting to train to be an artist. What do you do when you do that? You go get someone to help you. You go You go get someone to teach you, or you just do it on your own if you're that talented. And what do? You look at Frank Frazetta. You look at Rembrandt, for that matter. You look at all of these things, and you, air quotes, you copy. You look at that for inspiration, and you do it. So every artist, there is 1 in 100 million artists that have literally created a new style. Literally, just created a new style. It doesn't happen, right? The ones that I mentioned just now, Frazetta, one of the most famous fantasy artists.
Yep.
All of the masters from the Renaissance. These human beings have created something that is completely new, and then everybody has absorbed that knowledge. So what do you have now? You have a piece of software that will bring all of this in, categorize it, yada, yada, yada. This is background stuff, categorizes it. And then you say to it something like, give me a painting in the style of Frank Frazetta. I'm just using him because very famous fantasy artist. Give me a painting in the style of Frank Frazetta, using oils that has a dark horse being ridden by a barbarian in profile, wielding a bloody axe and shield. Well, what I just described to you is Frank Frazetta's greatest piece, one of his most famous pieces. It's called Death Dealer. I just described that very briefly. Oh, and with like stone and dirt ground and fire in the background. Guess what? You
can be super detailed. So you can just add on lots and lots more. There's children on the barbecue in the background.
You put a little barbecue with children.
Yeah. The thing is about the HABA barbecue, it's not real fire, okay? So,
are you kidding?
So to continue my little thing here. So the AI will deprecate certain things you say because you can't go into so much detail. But as these tools go, they'll get into more and more detail. But so guess what I did? I asked someone that I know very well, who's an artist, who's using these tools. I said, and I did my best non-artistic description. It was what I just said about that piece, the Death Dealer art. I said, do this for me in Midjourney. And there's a couple of versions in Midjourney 5 and Midjourney 5.2, and tell me what it comes out with. It came back. None of the images looked anything like Death Dealer. Okay, so it is being inspired by the things you're saying. It is cutting the time to do things, but it is not copying. It's not going to take that piece and put that onto a canvas so then you can then use it, or anything even remotely resembling. It's going to be an inspiration based on the color scheme, the style, the fact that I said use oils, right? Because that's going to look different than use acrylics or use digital strokes and things like that. Yeah. Water and or the whole digital side. And just one more item on this that's very interesting, and this we can literally talk about this for hours. This entire conversation, without the words AI in it, but this entire conversation happened a few decades ago, because all of a sudden Photoshop. There was computer art. So some artists all of a sudden had a tablet and they were doing art. And the other artists were saying, well, that's BS. How could that be art? That's not really art. And guess what? All artists, not all, but 95, 98% of artists now have to use that because they need to put out stuff at a specific rate, a very quick rate, to make money. So they're adopting these tools. So I postulate here, and it's something to continue discussing, of course, that this is a tool. It is not the end all to be all. It will not be the end of artists, at least not in any reasonable amount of time. Artists will use it. We still need trained artists to use the tool, because once they get this thing out, they have to then manipulate it, as Eric was saying. They have to then embellish it, change the backgrounds, add things into the fore, all the different things. It is a tool to be used just like other tools.
Sure.
And that's not the final statement in the whole world, but that's at least, consider that view when people start railing about.
I know, but the thing you need to understand is many non-creatives will be using those tools to be to make the art. They will not, and believe me, many people know, because they often don't look good. It's like, hey, this guy's got 15 fingers. What's going on here? Until they get all that stuff together. But yes, if you're using it as inspiration, I feel that that's not a bad thing. I mean, when we saw some of the character, like early stuff from Midjourney, and like science fiction character design was like nothing I'd ever seen. Now, I don't see everything, but it was super, super different to me. And that was exciting if they would use that as a starting point. But that is absolutely, if they're, the big issue is right now in Hollywood, they're looking to remove, I mean, they say they're not, but the reality is anything to save money and make more money for the people on the other end, right? That is the problem. And there is nobody protecting those artists to prevent a publisher from just going to, I mean, one of my favorite people in the hobby has a game out there that has AI in it that just was released. I don't want to mention it because it's not important here, but it is, I don't know if they did anything beyond that, but I believe they're not necessarily artists. I don't know the full story on it, so that's why I won't talk about it. But to me, that's what's potentially going to happen. And that is where you're going to lose jobs for artists, because they're not going to use that and do exactly what they should do, which is, let's make this better, right? This is a great way to, we as a BGG have looked at these things, and our general feeling is, let's just not use this stuff, right? Let's not even bother with it. But that's because we don't have directly an artist in-house that would be able to do that, right? We'd have to. Go ahead.
And you just said it. You still need an illustrator.
Well, that's
who understands
if you're being responsible.
Lighting. Well,
that's if you're being responsible.
And
I feel
more,
there's going to be plenty of situations where they're not responsible. And so if this reaction is probably valid, I don't know how much. I mean, if I'm going to look at Terraforming Mars and the art that happened in that game, is that going to? I don't know. I haven't seen the end results. I only read about this. I haven't looked at the Kickstarter, but I was not blown away by the art in Terraforming Mars. And
nobody has been.
Of course, but my point is like how much effort. I know that the family worked on that. It wasn't like they just took the art and went with it, but it wasn't necessarily great choices, right? So I just wonder where this is going, and there is no protection for the people. That is the problem, and there is no union of artists that will be able to do what Hollywood is trying to do right now and prevent this abuse. And it is going to be abuse. And when everything is driven by profits, that is a real serious situation. And people's reaction to this is justified. Because, we feel that an artist should do that. But we are of the mind that we want creatives to do their work, right? And do their best. And not everybody feels that way. They want to make it as cheap as possible. And there's nothing to it,
I think this conversation will be happening for a long time to come. And I think it's very, 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 very worthwhile to have it and talk about all sides of it. So, 100%.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I want to see the stuff. I actually have not had time to look. I don't even know how much they actually have in the Kickstarter. I just know that it was in the bottom bit where they explain, where they have to make that disclaimer about using AI art, and people started to have be upset about it. And it's completely justified. I mean, so I read an article by a comedy writer where they had an AI jokes written, and he was like, it was like 5 jokes. Which one of these was written by AI? The spoiler was all of them were. And the joke writer was like, I don't know that I can deliver that funniest stuff with that great of ease. Then he did this whole bit. This is because he's saying ChatGPT is kind of like a Trojan horse. It's the weak version of what's going on, and they already have the much, much stronger iterations in process. And they did like an outline, let's say, for a script, and it was great. Like, it was really, really well, and it was written by this new form by the chat. I guess I know nothing about the companies involved with any of this, but this is supposedly 2 new pieces of software that are way, way beyond what we know. And that's kind of scary, right? Because is that going to even be, I mean, it was revealed, somebody within the organization told this guy about it and showed him the examples, and what if we don't hear that information, right? Where it is just a computer doing this stuff and we don't know that, it's not revealed, especially like, is Midjourney the best version of that, or is there already something better out there? This is what's kind of scary about all this stuff.
Yeah. My experience
I'm a downer
as well. No,
I think, but go ahead.
So we used, I know, ChatGPT has done different iterations as well. But both my wife and I had it write biographies of us because we were full-time writers starting in the mid-90s. we have a long history of doing this, and a lot of things that are out in public, in addition to writing about games and all that. So the biographies had some facts mixed with a lot of weird stuff that was not true.
Yeah,
And
I think you sent
it's
those
not,
out. Yeah,
yeah, it's not like anyone else reading it would necessarily know
sure.
that the things are not true. I mean, there's a lot of Eric Martins out there, which is why I
Right.
put
Yeah.
W in there. So all this Eric Martin stuff gets blended together in like, here's the biography, and you could
Yep.
believe it or not. And I'm the only one who can vouch for it. And of course, my memory is going to go at some point. I can't vouch for things anymore. But you can just make up whatever and have stuff come out. And that's sort of the weird thing. I don't know what the analogy would be from writing to image creation in terms of falsity or wrongness, because of course that is more subjective. And you could do, it's a spaceship, but it's an abstract spaceship, and so yeah, it works even though it's not real. It's not the truth of the thing behind it. It's now this interpretation of it and new creation. So it doesn't quite work exactly in terms of doing an analogy from one to another, but it's more just the idea that it's sort of like this alternate reality that's being created, one prompt at a time.
Right.
And it comes out and exists, and it's sort of like, where does this fit in with what's actually going on? And what's the intent behind the creation? Because usually when you have a game coming out, is it something where you're trying to drive this personal inspiration into the product, where it's a representation of everything and every element is, important for different reasons, for the feeling that you're trying to get players to have? Or is it just like, here's the game design and then here's a picture on top and there you go? Because the game design is important, but the pictures are kind of just like, people like pictures. So yeah, it's hard to see. Cole Worley did a nice Twitter thread about this, where he really talked about the back and forth that he's been having with, was it Kyle Farron, and then I believe the person who was writing the background for ARCs, and how they're all influencing each other and affecting the design and the world and the illustrations, and they're all working together to do this. So it's not like the art is an afterthought. It's integrated into the entire creative process to make this particular game that has this point of view that's
Right.
coming from all of them.
Well, it's pretty interesting, but it is a little worrisome, and I hope that we can come out on the other end of this, using it as a tool and being used by the right people, and not just for profit, which is very very concerning.
Candice
you
is
have
very
anything else?
quiet. She's just an AI that's been.
I
Oh, yeah,
am.
yeah.
I am just an
Me-
AI. It's
Well,
an
it was-
AI Candice.
I've never met
I
Candice
entered
in
a bunch
real
of
life.
prompts
I don't think
and
she's
got
real.
Candice in 2019. Actually, a little bit earlier than that. And I'm very happy that it
Nice.
worked out, but and she's really good. She's
No,
evolving. So
I'm just listening in because like I wasn't like too in tune to what was going on with this. Like I heard a little bit about it at a game day I was at on Sunday.
Right.
But
But maybe more along
yeah.
your lines, because you're a drummer, and
Yeah.
there was a
I
song
was
that
actually
was
thinking about
created.
music.
Right. There was a song that was created in the style of The Weeknd, and I think it was Drake,
yeah, I think
where
that's
it's sort of
correct.
like the two of them together. It was an original song created by an AI and put out just freely online, and people are just like, that sounds awesome, but wait, what? They didn't actually do
Yeah.
that? And so
Yeah, that's weird.
it's this weird imitative process where it sounds like them, but it doesn't have their spirit necessarily, or their
Yeah.
Did you
intention
see
behind it.
the Stephen Fry announced that they used his Harry Potter audiobooks because he did the entire series. They used that to create an AI tool to perfectly mimic him. It's not like it's just cut and paste. It actually is changing the intonations to fit the sentence. And I don't
Right.
remember what the result was. I don't think they actually had the example that you could listen to it. But they were pretty freaked out. And that's when you have so much material out there that you're able to create that person's something from that person. That's pretty frightening.
Right.
And in the wrong hands, it is not good. And I don't know where we're going from that, right? There's a lot we don't even understand yet, right? That's the biggest issue, is
That's
we have
definitely
no
a big
true
point.
comprehension of what could be done with all of these tools and where this could be all headed.
100%.
Fred Astaire dancing with a vacuum.
That's right. I mean, that was pretty impressive. But yeah, it is weird, and lots of we watched the Flash, and they had CG people that weren't even alive in the stuff. I thought they CG'd. I mean, they did, but I thought they CG'd Nicolas Cage, but he is actually performing the part, but de-aged, which didn't look right. But who knows? Anyway, let's get to some fun things. Are we done with the news stuff?
I mean,
I think
unless
that was
Steven has
great.
more.
I mean,
No, I
I
think
do
that was
too, but
That's cool.
it's a little kind of concerning. So let's start with games we played. Hey, Candice, what about you?
Oh, okay. Well,
you've been quiet.
I have two. Yeah. I have two. I have two that I played recently that I would like to talk about. One, I'll just go quickly and say I played another old game for the first time recently. Oh, Trajan.
Oh, Trajan. Yeah.
Trajan or whatever.
I
yeah.
played, or Trajan,
Yeah, I don't
Trajan.
know.
So I was
Trojan.
at Strategicon a couple weeks ago, and I was just walking by, and I saw this beautiful game on the table, and I was like, what is that game? I didn't recognize it. And as I walk closer to the table, I start seeing like really nice components, which I soon discovered were geek up bits for Trajan because the person who was playing like had their copy all like pimped out with the geek up bits and everything. And it just kind of reminded me that I had never tried this game. And I think at some point I kind of just got, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest like Stefan Feld fan. But for whatever reason, I just never played this game. So of course, then I go home and I'm like, oh, well, now I want to know more about this game. And I start watching videos, and then I find myself a copy on the geek market, and I get the geek up bits sent, and I played it for the first time on Saturday with my friend Simon, just a 2-player game. And I could not believe, for a game that has such simple actions, but that Mancala action selection broke my brain in such a cool way. The game was so competitive, and I was just like, oh, I can't, if I move these into this spot, I can't do this. And I kept messing myself up, and I'm really like, it was such a great game. I ended up winning by 3 points. Like, we were kind of like neck and neck the whole game. There were moments of player interaction, which I was like, I'm excited that this game plays well with 2 players. And again, the actions themselves, all the 6 mini games or actions around the board are all like really, really simple. But then you mix in this like Mancala where you have these colored pegs that you're moving around from a bowl, and wherever you drop them, the final target tray is the action you're taking, and you're trying to like be efficient and try to get extra actions, and also to line up those Trajan tiles with the right colors. And it was like so puzzly and cool. So I loved it. Spoiler alert. And yeah, I'm like looking forward to playing it more. I already printed out the cards for the solo. Somebody made a solo variant for it. Yeah. So anyway, that was one. Yeah, I'm just still like, I can't believe it. It's something where I'm trying. Like, I'm like, I need to figure out how to get better at this, because I had so many moments where I made mistakes. You get one end game scoring tile at the beginning of the game, and I'm like, this will be easy. I just need to get one green tile. And so I was like, I'll just wait till the end. Like, why 9 points for one green tile? That seems simple. And then by the time you go through all that like demand where you have to take care of the people's demand, I ended up screwing myself out of that 9 points and another 9 points because I just didn't know to like plan in advance a bit. So now I know. I have lots to learn with Trajan, but I really liked it. So that was one game I played recently. And since that was an old game, I'll tell you about a newer game that I played that I got a copy of from the designer / the publisher at Gen Con, and that is
Four humors.
Four humors.
Yeah, we have that one too. We wanna
Yeah.
do it.
Have you played it yet?
Not yet. It was actually going to be played on Sunday, and we didn't get to it.
Okay. Well, this is designed by Charlie McCarran, and it's published by Adams Apple Games. And
Right.
I'm pretty sure there was a Kickstarter at some point. And I think that Gen Con 2023 was the first time it was available, like if you weren't a backer. But the premise is, thank you. The premise is we're doctors in medieval times, and we each have this like bag of these different personality potions, because this was like during the days when people believed that, you know, your personality was determined by the imbalance of fluids or the four humors. So there are four different types of tokens. Well, I'm not going to show you. I don't know if you can see this. But anyway, there's choleric, sanguine, melancholic, and phlegmatic. And
Right.
they're all like, yeah, they're all kind of like impacting your personality in different ways. But what you're doing in the game is on your turn, you're going to you're going to start the game with four of your potions. And you're going to be trying to put these potions onto different citizens of the kingdom. And you're pretty much influencing their personalities. You have in the game, the art is really cool, but you have these scene cards, these giant cards, which are really cool. And they have different people that have one of two different types of personality potions you can drop on them. So on my turn, I'm going to take one of my four potions and I'm going to play it face down on one of the scene cards that's in play. And, you know, I could talk to other players and like say like, oh yeah, I'm putting a heart here. I'm putting this there. You can lie to people. And basically we're all going to go around, you know, after I play one, I'm going to draw a new one from the bag. We're going to keep doing this until two of the scene cards are completely filled, like all the spaces on them, meaning we've impacted the personalities of all the citizens on the scene. After that, you're going to reveal them all. So we're going to go one scene at a time and flip over everyone's tokens and resolve it. And basically it resolves, like there are like four tiers how it resolves. First of all, if only one person plays the knife or the choleric, that person wins. Basically, like they kind of just like that will win as long as there's one. If there are multiple, that means people were too aggressive and they were fighting each other. So if that doesn't happen, then the second thing that will win is if there are two or more hearts, which is the sanguine, meaning you're talkative or social. So like you can kind of like talk to people and work together, say like, let's play hearts here. But then if that one person plays a knife, you know, they're going to win. So you never know like if you could trust people or not. There's definitely some like deduction and bluffing. And then like if you don't win with hearts, like maybe there was only one heart played on the card, then you're going to look at the melancholic. And if there was, I believe you need exactly two of those to win. Otherwise, if there was one, it kind of like sneaks away. And then the last level would be like any number of phlegmatics would win. So you're kind of, you're resolving these different scenes based on which tokens ended up on each of these cards. And whoever wins, like after you resolve a scene, like if it was the one knife, that player is going to place that token on this kingdom board we have. So each of the scene cards are related to a different like location in the kingdom. And so you're going to place, and maybe it was like three hearts one, and you know, maybe two of them could have been mine. So we're going to place all those tokens on the kingdom location that this scene was from. And we resolve all these cards. And ultimately what you're trying to do is you're trying to complete objectives. So there are four objectives that might be like, hey, complete 4 connecting spots with your potions on the kingdom board. So you're trying to win specific locations or move your potions to specific locations. There was one that was like, you need to have 4 of your potions on locations where there's only one potion. So in the case where if we won with multiple hearts, you know, and there are 3 hearts sitting on that location, that would not qualify for that objective. So you have these different objectives that you're trying to achieve on the kingdom board. And in order to place your potions on the kingdom board, you have to win the scene card. And so it's a lot of like, you know, it could be a little random, but you're also trying to like gauge what people might play. The other thing is after people, like if I start winning a bunch, which I did, I broke out the knife a few times when it wasn't expected. So I would win. But like then people know, because that token gets moved over there, hey, now I'm down several knives. So I'm less likely in the future to play a knife face down because all of mine are on the kingdom board. So I really liked it. It's kind of like, obviously like the theme is very different. I love games where you are placing tokens face down and people don't know what you're going to do. And there's like that bluffing element to it. I also like think there's a lot of like replay value in this game because the kingdom is made up of 6 boards that are placed randomly. So your kingdom layout is going to be a little different every time. I think the game has maybe like 10 to 15 different objective cards. So you're playing with 4 of them each game randomly. So you have a different combination of objectives. And then the order in which the scene cards come out change. And I will just say, like this is called the Royal Bedchamber. This only has 2 citizens on it. And it's like
Naughty.
these 2 citizens. Yeah. And you'll notice there's like some poison right here. So it's like we could be nice, whoever's placing on here, and both place hearts and both win. But if just one person plays that knife, they're gonna win. So yeah, and they just have they have a lot of really cool art.
Yeah, we saw it at Gen Con 2022 and we're really impressed. And we've actually been trying to get it played for like the last 5 months because we got it in April or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it really looks neat to me, and Nikki is really, really enthralled with it, and she loves the art. We just want to do it with 4, and because I feel that would be best. And come on, 4 humors.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely missed it last year, but this year, and I almost missed it this year. It was literally on the last day I was kind of like making my rounds, and I was like, oh, this looks neat. And the designer was there doing demos. So I sat and then they gave me a copy of the game. And yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. So I'm looking forward to like playing it more. I played it with 5, but I think 4 is going to be the sweet spot probably.
That's what we felt with it too when we were reading it. Dave was all prepared. We filmed all day yesterday, Saturday and Sunday and yesterday. It was really a lot of filming. But yeah, that one's one we want to get to, but it'll have to wait till we get back from Spiel. Hey,
cool.
Go ahead, Eric. What do you have? What did you play? I know you've been away, so.
So in the past 3 weeks, I think I've played exactly 2 different games. I played the Game Extreme.
Surprisingly.
And I played Circus Flickati.
Oh, the new Circus Flickati. Cool.
Yes. Whereas the Game Extreme, I've written about a lot. I have a huge essay. We can always throw a link in there if you want to do that. Circus Flickati, it's a game from, I think, 1997. The Rainer Knizia design. I've already purchased like 3 different versions of the game over the year.
Yeah. We have at least 3 as well.
Heard of it.
I think we have 4 versions. We have the original,
That's right.
the one with the
Candice,
fleas,
the young
the
man.
Japanese one, and then this Korean one.
It means
Yeah,
flea
Candice,
circus,
the
doesn't
young
it?
man has not heard
Yeah.
of it. Yeah, it means flea
Yeah, I haven't
circus.
heard of it.
Foolishly,
Yeah.
I don't think there's
It's
ever
one of
been
my
a
favorite
version in
games of all
English
time.
called Flea Circus.
Yeah.
They only ever call it Circus Flickati.
Yeah.
No,
So
it's
it's
a
pretty famous.
press your luck game. Yeah. It's a press your luck game. You got cards in 10 colors. They're numbered 0 to 7. There's a few action cards. On a turn, you can take one of the face-up cards. If you don't like any of those, you flip one and put it face up as well. If you flip a color that's already there, that card you flip is out and your turn is over. You got nothing, right? You weren't satisfied with what was there. You try to go for more. Didn't get it. You can pick up any of the face-up cards after you flip. Okay? You put it in your hand. Action card. You're going to score that many points in that color. If you get another card in that same color, you only score the highest card. So now I get 3 points. I don't get 1. I don't score both of them. But if you collect other ones, you can put those down as a trio, and that's worth 10 points. So you're trying to collect high value cards. You're trying to collect sets.
The push your
You
luck
only
element
want
is
one
so
of each
fun.
color, possibly. There are some action cards where you can steal from other people or you fill up the table. You run until the entire deck is out or until someone gets all 10 colors and calls a gala show and ends the game. They get some bonuses because they've got every act in the flea circus and then you score your highest card in each color, and you score 10 points for your sets, and most points wins. So it's super simple. It's like classic Kinesia because the rules don't change based on the player count, but the way you play really changes based on player count, because it's very different when there's 2 people or 3 people versus 5. Just because more cards are going out, it's easier to get a gala show with fewer players. And so gameplay works very differently. I taught a family that had visited us. This was like the one break during the project we were doing, and they loved it, and they looked online, and there's no versions available in English right now. No publisher has this in print. If
That's
you're
not
interested
in English
having
as well?
print. It is, but it's from a Korean publisher, and they
Right,
do not
Plate
distribute
TV.
in English.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Plate, the review copy they sent me.
Is this
Yes.
Eric? Is there another, or anyone? Is there another game that has a similar push your luck where you're flipping a card and you can? Because I feel like at BGG
Dead
Spring,
Man's-
someone showed me a game that like sounded exactly like that, but it was not a circus game. I feel like you
Yeah,
were
Dead Man's
collecting,
Draw.
like, plants,
Yeah, maybe Dead
or
Man's Draw.
something.
That was a Mayday game from, I don't know, 2010, 2015.
I'm gonna figure it
something
out
like
at
that.
some point.
There is another version of that game of Circus Wakati that was done in Japan that was a day in the park or something like that. I have that one as well. I have the
Right,
original
it's like a
Amigo
very-
one.
Chill scene.
Yeah, it
check
is
to
one
see
of
if
my
that's-
favorite games. I really love the Franz Vollwinkle art in the very first version of that. And I was sad in the Rio Grande version, they took out the act names. So, you know, they had like act names in the German version, and it was great. But both versions are wonderful. I think we have maybe one English one and several. I've given copies away every time I see one, I'll buy it so I can, if somebody wants it, because everybody loves it when they play it. But this one, this is my second favorite art of the two, because there was another one that Grail Games did that had people like old school, like, you know, late 19th century people with flea heads. And everybody was disturbed by the art, but I was still very happy that it was out, and I like the art. It's just very, I guess it's probably my second favorite art, and then this one's pretty good too.
Oops.
Cool.
So
What'd you
There
play,
you go.
Steven?
So this one is on the Essen hotness list, and I played it recently at the Dice Tower Retreat, and it's 3 Ring Circus.
Yeah, we played that last week.
Another
Oh,
circus
very
game
good.
here.
There
Yeah.
you go. So, there's obviously a theme going on here. So in 3 Ring Circus, you are competing circuses traveling around the country, going to small cities, mid-sized cities, and large cities, and putting on performances based on what that city wants. They might like animal acts, they might like high wire acts. So you are traveling around, and in different cities you gain different things. You gain more money you gain like money in the small cities only. You gain certain other benefits in the mid-sized cities, and you gain the biggest benefits in the large cities. But you have to have your acts in the right order in the 3 rings that you actually have on your player board. Those 3 rings have like 5 or 6 spaces for your performers, and they need to be, to score the most points, in the correct order so that you get the best score. And there is Barnum and Bailey's Circus is going around the board as sort of the timer for the game. They're not competing with you.
I think
But when
just
they
call
reach-
it Barnum in the game, but yeah.
Do they? Yeah, probably.
It does have
but
B&B
it's
on the game, but I think it is just called Barnum. But yeah.
Barnum Circus,
Yeah.
yes. But it's really really good. It's pretty meaty. Took a while to wrap my head around the whole thing.
Those big city ones are challenging because you have to have a specific act to be able to even perform in that city. And
Right.
boy, is that hard to actually potentially do necessarily.
You got to have
Because, you know, it's
that act.
random card flips, you know what I mean, as far as what comes
Yeah.
out.
Right.
But it's great.
You
And
need
it's
that
beautiful, too.
act. Yeah, it really is. The artwork is really, really circusy and really, classic circusy and nice. You need to have that act, and then you need to have an act of this type, this color, but it's this type on one side and an act of this type on the other side,
To get the best
so that you score the
benefit.
most points. And of course, you're going to try to score the most points. And it's really interesting. I liked it quite a bit. It's not like a go-to it won't be a go-to game. It wasn't on my list there at Essen, but I definitely will get a chance to play this again. I'm pretty sure within the next few weeks. So that was really good. And I'm going to give 2 shout outs here for old school Betrayal at House on the Hill, which I played with the Blood Moon expansion. People either love or hate Betrayal at House on the Hill. I'm on the love side. I just love this. We're playing with the new version, which is less broken than the first and second edition of the game. We played with the Blood Moon expansion. If you like this game, get the expansion. It's cheap. If you don't like this game, it's not going to change your opinion of Betrayal at House on the Hill. But I love this game. And of course, as I mentioned in the last episode, Thunder Road Vendetta, I got to play it twice again at Dice Tower Retreat. And this game just does not disappoint every time I play it. It's just insane, controlled chaos, a little bit of control, a lot of bit of chaos as you destroy everything in sight. So that's my recent plays.
Cool. Well, we, as I said, we played a lot of games, and many really good ones. The one that I'll mention first was my first play ever of Great Western Trail. We played in New Zealand. It is really good, but oh boy, was I in over my head because, I mean, I did fine, but it was, I basically start with the most complex version, and then thankfully I was not calling all of the cattle cows. I was in the sheep camp because I had not ever played it before. But it's really, really good and quite fun. There's actually some elements in that game that are similar to Three Ring Circus or Three Ring or whatever it's called, because it has where you're trying to get your best value performance. You can't like repeat, and you want to get the highest value that you can do in the city. And it's similar to where you're placing your tokens on the edge of the board for increasingly better because you can't double place. So it was much, much more difficult than that one. We also played My Island, which we were very excited about. We got at Spiel. Let me put it here so it's focused. Not Spiel, at Gen Con, and we played the first episode, I think is what it's called, and there are chapters in the episodes, I believe, or maybe it's episodes in the chapter. I think that's what it is, episodes in the chapter. And we wanted, the worst part about it was I actually wanted to keep playing. It was really great, and I was sad to stop it because I know that means I won't get back to it. I was terrible. Like, I had the worst luck on the flips. Particularly, I think the first round was just terrible. And because there's this like, because it's basically you're flipping over tiles, cards, to show what everybody's going to be placing. So it's like, take it easy in that regard. You're all going to be placing this tile. It's just where you place it. And you have to start on the beach. One of your, the very first tile needs to touch the beach because you're arriving at the beach. And then every tile card that you flip after that will then need to be touching, and it needs to touch a similar piece. If you can't place it, then you have to pass it and put it face down and lose a point. You can also pass just because you don't want the tile, and that's where I failed because I kept hoping, like, there's so many of this one tile type that would help me, and I'm like, it's more than 50% chance I should get it, right? And I kept pushing and it didn't happen. But it's really cool, and there is these mechanisms, so when the people that, we don't know what this track does, but there's these like points that you're tracking for the first and second player, and then the others get like a little tile, a sticker that you place on the board that will change the terrain type. This is just in the first one. They'll change the terrain type so that later it will probably benefit you. And when we did get to that, I actually used both of those things that I added, and it helped my game a lot. So it's pretty neat. I like that element that will change the game as you go. That's from Kosmos and Reiner Knizia. I don't think I said that. Alexander Pfister on the first one. Then we played Inside Job with 5, and it's really cool. I don't know that it's as intriguing as the crew, but it is really cool. The element of I don't want to spoil it because it is an episode, but the element of who is the traitor in one of the games was amazing. Lots of discussion back and forth, the two people blaming each other, and of course, I don't want to spoil it. I really don't want to spoil it because it was phenomenal, but it may actually be this week's episode, next week's episode maybe. I'm not sure.
It's a great take on The Crew. I mean, The Crew and The Crew 2. This is, the newest, not even that new, right?
Well, yeah, this one
but
is a
it's
different
really
designer.
good.
Yeah, this is Thomas, right? Or Tanner Simmons, right? Or something like that, right? Yeah, Tanner Simmons.
Yeah, and it blends in
Thomas Singer, the other one.
Insider, the board game too. And there was also like Shamans, which was, I think that was the first like hidden roles trick taking game. But yeah, it kind of mixes that like The Crew like cooperative, but then it takes the semi-cooperative nature of the Insider. I don't know if you ever played that Oink game. But it's kind of
absolutely.
we love
that one.
It's got
this
that
one was
going
cool
on.
though. I mean, my thing was I mean, we only played a couple games. The tasks or the challenges or whatever they're called, those were not as interesting as I felt The Crew were, but I don't know yet. I didn't really see all of them. The whole thing about choosing, because whoever wins the trick then gets to choose which one you're going to try to complete. You need to complete a certain amount to win, and then the trader or the insider needs to have a certain amount of briefcases. These are what you get when you win a trick. So you don't want anybody to get too many because you're worried that they're the insider. And that was really kind of an interesting interplay. That was my favorite part of the game. And who is really the insider? And it does seem like it's hard to win for the team, but I think we did. I mean, the final thing is if you get to the end and nobody has won, the team can win if they can accurately say who the insider is, and that is probably the real way to make that game the way you're going to probably win the most, because I feel like it's really difficult to. Just because, like, hey, every one of these needs to be odd. This one, for each card needs to be odd, then even, then odd, then even. Right. All these things are just hard to do. And it was a little frustrating, because we played 2 full games of it, and I think. And it was, they both played differently. Because, we all knew better the second game, and it was much more complex. What were you saying, Candice?
Did you play with any of the different roles? I think like one of the really cool things about the game.
We looked over the roles, yeah. Yeah, they look pretty
Tim
interesting
Shady.
too.
Yeah, so
mixing
in some of the other roles is really cool. The other cool thing I love about it is that those briefcases that, yes, if you're the trader you get 4, you win. Yeah, but you can use them to make your card the trump suit, which is cool.
Right. Well, that's where I feel that the insider can really benefit. Because if they're after a bunch of people have played and you're able to do whatever you need to do to win that trick, you get all of those briefcases and you can win.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty neat. Scott was really excited for us to play it. And at first we're all like, nobody ever wants to really be the insider when you're first playing these games because you have no idea exactly what you need to do to make it work. But it was pretty neat. I really don't want to spoil it because I was particularly tickled by the interaction between 2 people. And I just, it's always, okay, that person's the insider. You're always doing that. If they're getting this upset, they're the insider, right? It was pretty funny. But yeah, it's great. Was really, really excited we finally got to do it. Awesome. Well, there you go. There's the BGG show. Does anybody have anything else they want to say? Nope. Okay.
See y'all in Essen.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So we'll be back. I think we might be a little bit delayed because I think October might be a challenge because, Candice said a bunch of stuff she's going to be doing as soon as we return. Anyway, but we hope to have an episode also in October, and hope everybody can join us then. And thanks for joining us this time. Take care, everybody. Have a great one. Bye-bye.